The small hall hummed with a tension so taut that even the torch flames seemed hesitant to crackle. Ash and cedar smoke traced uncertain spirals toward the groined ceiling, mingling with the sweat of courtiers who pretended not to stare at the dwarf, seated upon a scarlet velvet bench beneath the gallery. Tyrion Lannister drummed 2 fingers upon his knee, an idle rhythm that betrayed nothing of the storm that raged inside him. Across the width of glossy floor, Lord Tywin's cat-bright green gaze never wavered. A single nod from the hand dismissed the last of the Black Cell's gaolers. The bronze-barred doors clanged shut, sealing father and son alone amid painted shields and the history of House Lannister. Tyrion inhaled. "Shall we dispense with ceremony, father? I have worn enough chains for one lifetime." Tywin's lips moved as though tasting the words before granting them voice. "Chains? You stand unshackled." The Lord of Casterly Rock leaned forward, knuckles whitening atop the gilded lion heads that capped his chair of state. "Though I could remedy that condition in the turn of an hourglass. So you might, and lose a son." Tyrion fought to keep irony from souring the sentence. The flavor of gall already coated his tongue. 2 sons, in truth. For Jaime would never forgive you. A faint twitch at the corner of Tywin's jaw. Jaime's forgiveness is a thing cheaply won. He gives it out like copper pennies to beggars. Yet you raise a compelling point. A pause, measured. "Sit, if you please." Tyrion remained standing, limbs stiff as carved oak. "If it please your grace, I would rather pace." The blood moves, the mind follows. "Debiscus." "As you wish." Tywin folded his long hands. Candlelight limned crimson across his links of Valyrian steel and gold. "The trial. It was regrettable." "Regrettable," Tyrion echoed. "My sister's theatrics were regrettable. Sir Meryn's perjury was regrettable. King Tommen's silence was regrettable." He smiled, barbed. "Your absence most of all." "I maintained impartiality," Tywin said, and that single sentence carried the weight of a tower, crushing dissent beneath its stones. "Yet, I was never absent. I steer this city's affairs, even when I do not occupy its carved seats." His gaze swept the hall, as if to demonstrate. Tyrion's boots clicked upon the mosaic lions as he walked the long strip between them. At 14 steps he turned, cloak swirling. "Is that why you condemned me to death?" "Your tongue condemned you," Tywin corrected. "You could have asked for the wall. You might have knelt." He flicked away something invisible from his sleeve. "Instead you mocked boy kings and slandered your sister in the sight of every great lord of Westeros. In the realm of truths, slander is a curious choice of word," Tyrion murmured, though he felt the weight of his folly. He had roared like a wounded lion in that throne room, driven by wine, grief, and Shay's daggered betrayal. Now, the echoes of that roar sounded hollow. Tywin rose. The motion conducted silence like a maestro guiding strings to stillness. "The realm teeters," he said. "Stannis gathers cell sails on Dragonstone. The Dornish sharpen long memories. The Reach counts its debts. House Lannister cannot afford petulant children. L'Anbanir." "And yet," Tyrion said, drawing out the phrase, "here we are." Tywin studied him, as though choosing between swords. "If you still covet life, you will help me mend the rents you tore in our banners. You will show the lords that a Lannister, even half-statured, can temper wit with loyalty." Tyrion's breath caught. "Loyalty, father? From me? After all these years?" A slow inclination of Tywin's head. "Prove that I did not misplace my faith when I named you Master of Coin." "Faith?" The word struck Tyrion harder than any mailed fist. He returned to pacing, yet his thoughts raced ahead. Siding with Tywin meant swallowing every brand of pride, enduring Cersei's venom, perhaps arranging alliances he despised. But it also meant life. It meant a chance to wield power. Real power, not the brittle tin of courtroom theatrics. He halted beneath the carved lion rampant. "What price, my loyalty?" Tywin's eyes glimmered. "A binding oath, witnessed by the High Septon himself. No foreign sellsword farce. No clandestine rescue attempts by eunuchs or sellswords. You will serve as Lord Paramount of the Westerlands in all but name. Casterly Rock passes to you. Upon my death." Das. For a heartbeat, Tyrion almost laughed. The Rock. Childhood dream. Adult jest. I thought you meant to leave it to Jaime. My eldest has other vows now. Tywin spoke without heat, yet Tyrion sensed old fires banked beneath the words. A Kingsguard's cloak is white, not gold. And if I refuse? Tywin's silence answered, with the finality of a sword's keening ring. Refusal meant chains, strangling shadows, the stench of straw in the dark. It meant a traitor's grave or a black-cloaked shuffle north, stripped of titles, names, and hopes. Tyrion closed his eyes. In the darkness he saw shadows. Shay's lips parted in shock at the trial. Tysha's tears on a rain-soaked road. Podrick's earnest face begging to help. His own small hands closing around a crossbow he would never draw in this version of the tale. He opened them again. Very well. Draft the parchment. I will sign. The ink had scarcely dried before horns blared across the city, announcing the dwarf's miraculous reprieve. Whispers scuttled through flea markets and marble halls alike. Tywin had spared the Kinslayer, the Kingslayer's brother, the halfman who mocked the crown yet saved the city from wildfire. Some called it mercy. Others named it calculation. Both were correct, for Tywin Lannister trafficked in virtues as other men traded spices. A measured pinch, never lavish, always profitable. Within days, Tyrion found himself escorted to the Tower of the Hand. No longer a prisoner, but a guest. Gold cloaks saluted. Servants bowed. Yet suspicion lurked in every corridor. Cersei's eyes followed him, green knives glinting from balconies. Ser Boros Blount hovered near doorways like a pale moth awaiting candle flame. Only Jaime greeted him with unfeigned warmth, though guilt shadowed the lines beside his eyes. Father means to bind your wounds and ride you like a destrier, Jaime warned one sunset atop the ramparts overlooking Blackwater Bay. Gulls screeched overhead. The wind smelled of salt, tar, and distant fires. When he has won his wars, who knows whether he will still require the steed? He has required you most of our lives, Tyrion observed. Yet you remain. Jaime smiled lopsidedly. We both know I remain for different reasons. Yes. Tyrion rested elbows upon rough stone. Ships dotted the black water below, their masts thin scratches against a bruised sky. But I intend to remain for mine. And what are they? Jaime asked. Tyrion exhaled. Revenge, perhaps. Redemption. The subtle difference between the two might fuel a lifetime of bad poetry. He met his brother's gaze. I will not die caged, nor will I permit it. Jaime's prosthetic glinted as he set gold fingers on Tyrion's shoulder. The gesture weighed like a vow. King Tommen's coronation tour consumed a moon's turn. At every holdfast, Tywin displayed the newly reconciled imp. No longer a snarling cur curbed by iron, but a lion cub brought to heel by paternal command. Tyrion performed with aplomb. He distributed coin to war widows, drank toasts with hedge knights, coaxed laughter from maester's apprentices. When tavern rumor mutated into respect, Tywin's cold nod acknowledged success. Yet beneath the mask, Tyrion gathered threadbare spies. He cultivated Varys' little birds with sweet cakes. He bribed sellsword captains still lingering after the war. He read ledgers by a candle stretching hours until ink blurred. Something was wrong. The crown's debts, once a labyrinth, had become a graveyard. Stagnant revenues, promised payments unfulfilled, grain stores depleted. Tywin had demanded loyalty, but what he required was coin. And coin flowed slowest when the riverbed crumbled. One night in the solar above Maegor's holdfast, Tyrion laid scrolls before his father. The Iron Bank will foreclose come spring if we do not honor arrears. Tywin's brows rose a fraction. You propose what? An alliance. The Vale of Arryn. Tyrion tapped parchment bearing Lord Robin's wax seal. The Lord Regent Sweetroben is a sickly lad. His bannermen squabble. A marriage, myself to Lady Sansa, would secure the Ares silver. They possess rich mines, near inexhaustible. Tywin considered. The girl is a wolf. She is also of age, titled, and strategically located. Our enemies gather like wolves indeed. Best to set one wolf guarding our gate. Cersei will howl. Cersei howls at candles. Tyrion's shrug belied the gamble glittering behind his eyes. Sansa Stark was a key. Turning her might unlock both North and Vale. If you falter, Tywin said quietly, remember who forgave your crimes. Tyrion inclined his head. I remember everything. The royal procession wound its way north toward Gulltown beneath banners of crimson, gold, and starlight silver. Cersei rode at Tommen's right, her smile a stitched-on mask. Marguerite Tyrell fluttered at his left, scattering roses to cheering throngs. Tyrion traveled near the center, flanked by red cloaks who had once jeered him but now saluted. In quiet stretches of road, he revisited the trial in his mind. What if he had not demanded trial by combat? What if he had bowed? That path ended in darkness. A noose of dwarven bones hung a spectacle. Yet here he rode alive, albeit caged anew by paternal bargains. Survival carried its own shackles. Campfires dotted dusk like ember constellations. One evening, Jaime joined Tyrion beside a kettle of hare stew. Do you trust this plan? Jaime asked. Tyrion blew upon his wooden spoon. Trust is a luxury of tall men. He sipped. I believe in opportunities. If our house stands together, the realm will fear us. Will outlive us, Tyrion said. Fear chases coin away. Stability lures it home. Jaime laughed softly. You speak like father. Curse me not. Tyrion grinned, yet inside he catalogued the words. Was he becoming Tywin's echo? At the Erie's pale gates, snows swirled like powdered sugar. Lady Sansa met them draped in sky-blue wool, flanked by knights of the Bloody Gate. Her eyes were quiet lakes, deep, reflective, hiding frozen currents. When Tyrion bowed, she acknowledged with a curtsy brittle as ice. The next fortnight unfolded in halls of creamy moonstone. Negotiations were conducted at feasts, in septs, beside winter hearths. Tyrion's jokes thawed some hearts but left Sansa untouched. They walked snow-luminous gardens. He spoke of duty, she of survival. At last, upon Maiden's Terrace beneath blazing comets of aurora, she asked, Will you protect me from your family? He answered honestly, I will protect you from the world if you allow me, and from myself when needed. It was not love, but it was enough. They were wed in a sept of white marble, vows echoing in tunnels etched by wind. Tywin sent provisions down the high road in silver-bound wagons. In return, the Vale's treasuries promised shipments of ingots to King's Landing. News of the match traveled on Raven Wing to Winterfell, where Roose Bolton's bastardy plots festered, to River Run, where Brynden Tully sharpened arrows, to Dragonstone, where Melisandre whispered of shadows and kings. Each lord interpreted the union according to his fears. Back in the capital, Cersei greeted the bride with a kiss that tasted of lemon cakes gone sour. Our little bird returns, she crooned, though the lilt in her voice was brittle glass. Against Cersei's hauteur, Sansa stood silent, a statue of snow. Tyrion sensed storms coiling. Tywin convened council after council. Coin, war, harvests. At each, Tyrion delivered ledgers, proposals, predictions. Some lords balked at his stature. Others weighed the golden quill he wielded more fearfully than a sword. The Greyjoy raids along the Shield Isles required galleys. Tyrion allocated funds. The Redwyne fleet demanded pay. Tyrion bargained. The crown's coffers swelled, albeit slowly. Each victory bound him tighter to Tywin's yoke. Yet every night, in the hush of his solar, Tyrion penned letters in cipher to allies old and new. Oberyn's brother in Sunspear, Pettier Baelish in the Fingers, even to Maester Samwell in the Southron Seas. Knowledge became coin, secrets, daggers. Meanwhile, Sansa adapted to court with an elegance tempered by northern steel. Rumor held that she prayed to strange gods, that her wolves walked unseen corridors. When Joffrey's ghost still haunted the throne room, she would stand beneath the Iron Throne and regard it with an unreadable gaze. Some servants whispered she was measuring it. Midwinter's chill seized King's Landing. Frost limned the dragon pit ruins. Beggars burned sea coal that stank of fish rot. One black morning, ravens screamed from the rookery. Stannis Baratheon had sailed, banners snapping orange upon the narrow sea. Tywin summoned war council. "We must meet him on the waves," he decreed. "Redwyne sails from the arbor at dawn. Mace Tyrell marches upon the Stormlands. We hold the capital." Tyrion listened, but his mind leapt ahead. Stannis may bypass the Stormlands entirely. Dragonstone to Sweetwater. Landfall near Maidenpool, up the King's Road. A strike at our gates before Tyrell boots soil the marches. Nan. Kevin Lannister frowned. "A bold conjecture." "A hungry wolf is bold," Tyrion said. Stannis learned cunning from Jon Arryn. He tapped a map. "Here, Nettle's Point. We fortify. Better still, bribe the sell-sales he hired. The Iron Bank funds him. They value certainty over allegiance." Tywin gave slow approval. "Secure me certainty." Within a fortnight, sacks of Myrish gold changed hands in Lysine brothels. Half Stannis' fleet scuttled at anchor. The other half limped toward Massey's Hook, ravaged by fire and treachery. The realm hailed Tywin's foresight, yet Tyrion's quills had orchestrated every stroke. Cersei's envy grew. She whispered of dwarf plots, of wolves in lion dens, of poisoned chalices. Tommen listened with eyes too soft. Tyrion countered with fatherly gifts: clockwork stags, carved ivory knights. The boy's laughter washed away his mother's poison drops. The season turned. Harvest moons fattened. Crimson leaves fled the Kingswood. Beyond the wall, portentous fires burned and wildling horns sang, but the capital ignored their cry. Tyrion's marriage ripened into mutual respect. He commissioned singers to craft ballads praising Lady Sansa's wisdom, subtle as snowfall. She, in turn, advised him on the north. The value of direwolf banners, the pride of Mormonts, the vengeance of Karstarks. Together, they sketched a future where north and south might knit wounds closed. But Tywin heard only numbers. "The north is salted earth," he told Tyrion in private. "Souls, not silver." When Tyrion argued for rebuilding Winterfell, Tywin dismissed the stone keep as a ruin unworthy of Lannister gold. Tyrion's temper flared. "A ruin may yet become a fortress." "Or a tomb," Tywin replied. That night, Tyrion drank with Varys in a hidden chamber scented of wormwood. "My father's blind spot may prove fatal," Tyrion said, swirling dark arbor red. "He thinks the north ashes. He forgets Ash's birth flame." Varys' smile was as soft as silk. "And you would kindle it. Perhaps merely tend it, lest another does with malice. I need eyes along the King's Road. Discreet eyes." Meberistiko. The spider inclined his shaven head. "Little birds fly wherever crumbs fall." Tyrion scattered coins like crumbs. Snow arrived early. It fell in ghostly curtains over Blackwater Bay, blanketing ship decks and covering the charred scars of wildfire. With it came word from the Trident. Sir Brynden Tully had retaken Riverrun under a new banner, a trout entwined with direwolf. A Stark Tully alliance fermented. Tywin demanded immediate assault, yet the River Lords held strong. Ziga engines bogged in mire. Ravens grew fat on corpses. In the throne room, Tyrion suggested parley. "Offer pardons for houses sworn anew," he said, "and restore river trade. Bread wins where blades fail." Cersei snorted. "Bread feeds rebels. Starvation feeds revolt," Tyrion countered. He felt Sansa's quiet gaze upon him. She had family behind those walls. Tully blood. Stark vows. He argued not only for coin, but for kin. Tywin relented. Red banners rode north bearing terms. Some lords accepted. Others spat. The war smoldered rather than flared, and in that slow burn Tyrion saw hope. Dreams plagued him. Shay's laughter morphing into shriek. Tysha's tears turning to rivers of molten gold. He woke night slick with sweat. Sansa's cool hand soothing his brow. "You fight ghosts," she whispered. "They seldom die," he confessed. One dawn he stood upon the gatehouse, watching dawn stain the city pink. Jaime joined him, armor unbuckled, hair windswept. "Father says Riverrun will fall by spring." Father speaks in seasons. Wars obey weather, Tyrion said. But spring brings seeds, and seeds break stone given time. Jaime studied him. You've changed. Have I grown taller? Tyrion mocked lightly, but his brother's solemn gaze held him. Jaime, I have changed. When a man survives the pyres of his own making, he learns to forge himself anew. That's an or. Beware becoming father, Jaime said. Tyrion exhaled white vapor. I fear becoming nothing. On the last night of the year, a feast filled the Red Keep. Tables groaned beneath boar, trout, and swan. Musicians played a lilting melody older than dragons. Tyrion sat at the high table beside Sansa, across from Cersei, one chair removed from Tywin. Goblets of arbor gold glittered. As jesters capered, Tyrion felt eyes upon him. Nobles judging the dwarf who dared command coin and counsel. He rose, tapped silver fork against chalice, and spoke. Lords and ladies, I drink to the realm, to fields fertile, to bells silent of war, to children who may know more laughter than loss. Murmurs rustled like silk. He lifted his cup. May we measure victory not only in castles held, but in hearts kept whole. Some scoffed. Others cheered softly. Sansa squeezed his hand beneath the tablecloth. Tywin's expression remained granite, yet his eyes glittered. Approval or warning? Tyrion could not say. Across the hall, Cersei whispered to Grand Maester Pycelle. Shadows weighed her words, and Tyrion felt a chill not born of winter. Later, amid winding corridors lit by sputtering torches, he encountered Varys. The eunuch bowed. A lovely toast, my lord. Lovely words seldom sway iron hearts, Tyrion said. Ah, but words are wind, and wind sculpts stone. Varys produced a parchment folded 8 times. A whisper from the north. Ramsay Bolton marches upon Moat Cailin with ironborn prisoners. No lord but a bastard, yet he carries your father-in-law's old seals. Tyrion's fingers tingled as he accepted the note. Does my father know? Not yet. Ravens travel, but some roads are longer than others. Then Tyrion thanked him and strode away, mind churning. The north stirred like a wounded giant. If the Boltons succeeded in quelling Ironborn, they would claim Winterfell and the North's loyalty, undermining both his marriage and the tenuous peace he courted. He needed action, swift and subtle. That same night, Tyrion penned letters to White Harbor, to Bear Island, to the Neck. He urged caution, promised aid, hinted at royal favor should they resist Bolton rule. He sealed them with the Crimson Lion twined around a silver direwolf, the sigil of his new house, Lannister of the Eyrie. The moon waned, the wolves began to howl. Reports filtered south. Carhold men skirmished Bolton outriders, Manderley banners rallied at Widow's Watch. The north bled, but refused Bolton chains. Tywin summoned his son. You send ravens without my leave, he accused, voice flat as cold iron. I send peace, Tyrion replied. Every blood drop spilled now foretells cask spilled later. Peace is built on victory, and victory upon hearts, Tyrion said, echoing his feast toast. Win them, we win the realm. Tywin studied him. Do not mistake mercy for strength, nor brutality for power, Tyrion answered. For a moment, father and son were statues facing opposite mirrors. Then Tywin turned away. I have warned you. Do not fail me. Yet as Tyrion departed, he glimpsed something flicker across his father's face. Not wrath, weariness perhaps. The Lion Lord had ruled by fear all his days. Now he found himself flanked by a different breed of lion, one who wielded wit like steel yet sought to temper iron with cloth. Spring storms battered the city. Lightning forked above the Blackwater. Thunder shook windows in Maegor's Holdfast. On one such night, Tyrion studied grain prices by candle flutter, while Sansa embroidered direwolves onto blank banners. Rain drummed the roof like distant drums. A knock. Podrick entered, sodden. My lord, the bells. They ring small. But the hand is dead. Tyrion's quill froze. Dead? How? No. Heart, they say. In his sleep, the room tilted. Tywin Lannister, a mountain for so long, crumbling into dust? Tyrion's breath came shallow. He had imagined this moment in revenge-tinted dreams where crossbows sang. Yet reality arrived soft as dusk, carrying not triumph, but uncertainty. Sansa rose, alarm knitting her brow. What happens now? Tyrion swallowed. Now, my dear, we find out whether lions can rule without the roar of their father. He stepped to the window. The storm had broken. Moonlight spilled between clouds, argent on whetstone. Somewhere beyond the darkness, a new story waited to be written. One where a half-man bore the weight of a golden mantle, and the realm's fragile hopes rested upon words and choices, not steel alone. He closed his eyes and listened. No clang of chains, only the rain's soft applause, heralding dawn. Ingwen, Emni. Torch smoke drifted in languid coils above the body of Tywin Lannister, as it lay beneath the gilded lions of the Sept of Baelor. Candlelight flickered across the waxed mask of the dead hand, painting austere grooves deeper than life had etched them. And in that trembling glow the gathered highborn of the realm beheld both an ending and a summons. Trumpets keened in the square outside, their brass mouths pouring grief into the night. Yet inside the Sept the hush felt brittle, as if a single breath too loud might shatter the marble saints into dust. Tyrion stood among a knot of red and gold retainers, smaller than every man and woman surrounding him, yet no less conspicuous. His black mourning doublet was stitched with only a single crimson thread, enough, he hoped, to honor his house without screaming his ambitions. Beside him, Sansa's fingers rested lightly on his sleeve, a snow-pale comfort he scarcely deserved. Across the bier Cersei knelt, rich sable sleeves swallowing her hands, as if even prayer required secrecy. Grand Maester Pycelle droned the rites. With each rattling syllable, Tyrion's mind trailed away, weaving through the labyrinth of what must now come to pass. There would be a conclave of lords declarant to appoint a new hand of the king. Kevan would claim seniority. Mace Tyrell would insist upon gratitude, and Cersei, 7 help them, would press Tommen to elevate her outright. Meanwhile, the Iron Bank watched with ledgers drawn, and the North bled on snow that drank every drop of Lannister coin he could spare. Tywin's passing had cracked open the hull of a great lion ship, and Tyrion alone could see how swiftly the tide poured in. A soft cough tugged him back. Pycelle had finished. Acolytes swung silver censers heavy with incense that smelled of cedar and myrrh. Margaery Tyrell guided Tommen forward to lay a circlet of winter roses upon the bier. The boy's lower lip quivered. Petals brushed metal cuirass as if offering gentler armor. Only then did Cersei rise to close her son within the canopy of her black sleeves. She did not lift her gaze to Tyrion, yet he felt the heat of her anger as keenly as a forge brand. The procession spilled onto the broad steps. Below, flickering torches lined a rumbling courtyard, where 6 white horses waited to draw the hearse toward the city gates. Night air carried brine and the promise of rain. Tyrion descended arm in arm with Sansa, boots clacking upon stone wet with earlier drizzle. The crowd parted like a tide scraping the shore. Some faces bore curiosity, others calculated respect. Not so long ago they had hungered to see him swing. Now they weighed him like coin. Within the rumble of hooves and the groan of axles, Tyrion heard another sound, knives sliding from leather as alliances were sharpened. By dawn, ravens would wing to Highgarden, the Eyrie, Sunspear, even Pike. Each message would dress his father's death in possibility. Now is the hour, they would promise. Possibility, Tyrion knew, could kill as quickly as steel. He lingered at the foot of the steps until only 2 remained beside him. Jaime, haloed in torchlight, and Varys half swallowed by his voluminous mourning robe of unadorned black. The eunuch's round face gleamed with false tears. A night of endings, he sighed softly. Or beginnings, Tyrion replied, still watching the hearse trundle into the darkness. Jaime's golden prosthetic clicked against stone as he shifted. Come to the tower, brother. Kevan calls council at dawn, but hell won guidance sooner. Cersei is... He searched for a word, found only a grimace. Particular. Tyrion almost laughed. Grief held the sound captive. I imagine she is sharpening her particularities even now. But I will come. Just not yet. He tilted his chin toward Varys. A moment. Jaime nodded, cloak stirring. Don't tarry long. Small council seats vanish like sweetmeats. When his brother's footfalls faded, Tyrion turned to the eunuch. Your little birds, do they sing of who truly holds the reins now Tywin lies cold? Varys folded plump hands. They sing many songs, my lord. Some speak of Lord Tyrell's gardeners, eager to prune the realm. Others of a queen mother cultivating thorns. And of Selzwards swollen with arrears. They sing that tune most loudly. A rueful smile. Goldestrike second sons, many grow restless. Their captains polish contracts with other hands. Tyrion exhaled. Then let them polish but not sign. Yet. I will write the Iron Banked tonight. A show of solvency may stay desperation. Varys cocked his head. And if desperation already grips your sister? Then I must loosen her fingers before she crushes us all. Tyrion's gaze found the dark slit where the hearse had vanished. The realm has had its lion of roaring iron. Perhaps it requires for a time a quieter breed. Even a quiet lion must sometimes bear fangs. Varys murmured. May yours strike true. He drifted away like ash. Tyrion pulled his cloak close and turned toward the tower lights. 6 candles guttered on the war table, their wax rivers wending toward parchment landscapes of river and mountain. Kevin, stooped with fatigue, brushed dripping tallow from the shores of Crackclaw Point. Sir Adam Marbrand circled the table's far side, red cloak brushing scabbard. Pycelle wheezed by the hearth, while Qyburn hovered like a pale moth near his shoulder. Jaime leaned against a pillar, arms loose, face tight. Cersei sat at the table's head where Tywin once ruled its debates. Shadows carved her cheekbones into razorish angles. She neither greeted Tyrion nor acknowledged Sansa, who accompanied him but lingered near the door. Only Tommen, seated beside his mother, offered a timid smile. Kevin cleared his throat. We are gathered to decide how best to honor my brother's charge. Peace, prosperity, the king's safety. He gestured broadly. First, the hands chain. His grace must name one who requires neither introduction nor acclamation. Cersei cut in. The king's own mother guided his reign already, and shall continue. Jaime's brow creased. Kevin's sigh rustled maps. My lady, custom forbids regency and handship united in one person. Custom bends. Cersei's eyes glinted. When Stannis bends custom to forge abominations, when broken men in the north call themselves kings, we cannot afford ceremony. Tyrion took a measured breath. Ceremony may be inconvenient, sister, yet it girds the realm like mortar holds stones. Without it, castles collapse. Her gaze snapped. You would lecture me on castles, dwarf? You, who nearly toppled ours with your farce of a trial? I would remind the council, Tyrion said lightly, that farce ended in exoneration, and that my coin has since paid the recompense. Marbrand's mouth twitched in reluctant amusement. Tommen looked between them, anxious. Kevin lifted a hand. Let us not trade barbs over Tywin's beer. We might consider a compromise. Lord Mace's hand, her grace remains queen regent. Mace, Cersei scoffed. A soft peach ready to rot. He sniffs roses and drools over heraldry. He will dance to Highgarden's pipe, not King's Landing's. And your choice will dance to none but your own, Tyrion observed. Yet the song of the realm carries many verses. Might we allow it harmony? Pycelle coughed, then coughed again until Qyburn discreetly steadied him. If I may, the Grand Maester croaked. Lord Tyrion has proven adept with coin. The Iron Bank treats non-payment as treason. A hand with purse strings knotted tightly could prove salutary. Cersei's stare might have melted iron. The hand should not skulk in ledgers like a maggot in grain. Yet grain feeds armies, Jaime interjected quietly. And armies guard thrones. Silence pulsed. Tommen shifted, then surprised them all. Perhaps Sir Uncle Jaime might be hand? His round cheeks flushed crimson. Kevin closed his eyes. Jaime straightened. I serve in white, not gold. At last, Cersei spoke through clenched teeth. "Very well. Let the council vote. But know this, brother." Her eyes skewered Tyrion. "If your quills fail, the crown you crave will crush you." "I desire no crown," Tyrion said. "Only balance." Inwardly he added, "And survival, for all of us." The vote splintered. Kevan and Marbrand for Tyrion, Cersei and Pycelle abstaining, Jaime withholding. Under precedent, the king might break the tie. All gazes turned to Tommen. He swallowed. Small fingers clutching the lion sigil ring Tywin had once worn. Margaery whispered in his ear. The boy's eyes flicked toward Tyrion, then to his mother. The silence stretched. Tommen cleared his throat. "Lord Tyrion kept me safe during the Battle of Blackwater. He knows books and ships and—" He faltered under Cersei's glare, yet drew breath anew. "And he is my uncle. I choose him." The decree fell like a guillotine, severing alliance, possibility, and Cersei's restraint all at once. She rose so quickly her chair scraped stone. "The king is weary," she said. Retire." Cloak swirling, she shepherded Tommen toward the door, pausing only to cast Tyrion a look brimming with venom and in its hidden corners, fear. Before dawn's gray light puddled upon the yard, Tyrion knelt at a narrow writing desk strewn with parchment. Ink stained the tips of 2 fingers. A half-drunk flagon of Hippocras perched precariously near an open window, where gulls wooed the coming storm. Sansa slept curled on the settle, hair a spill of embers. He dipped quill and wrote, "To Sir Brenton Tully, Guardian of Riverrun. PGSQL. My lord, the lions mourn, and as in nature, the mourning of lions masks vulnerability. The north wind scents opportunity, so too do the river currents. Yet water that floods swiftly may drown the fields it seeks to nourish. Time is needed, 2 moons, no more. In exchange, grain ships shall sail unmolested up the Trident, and hostages of good faith may be exchanged. Tell." Hand of the king. He sanded, folded, sealed with crimson wax. 3 more letters followed. One to Lord Manderley, reminding him that White Harbor's docks yearned for southern trade. One to the Iron Bank, pledging incremental repayment backed by Erie silver. And one, least orthodox, addressed simply, "To the fleet captain, with most ships to spare and least loyalty elsewhere." That last he left unsealed, for Bronn would demand coin more than courtesy. A soft crunch of rushes signaled Sansa's waking. She padded to his side, shawl wrapped. "You took the chair." He smiled thinly. "For now. Chairs are seldom possessed, only borrowed." "Nedo Hein." She traced the waxed direwolf lion crest with a pale finger. "These will anger your sister." "Everything angers my sister. If we delay until Cersei is pleased, the wall will melt." He jerked his chin at the horizon where dawn smeared lavender behind dripping battlements. "Come. Let us walk. The city stinks less before the bakery's fire ovens." They descended shadowy staircases into the courtyard. Dawn-washed cobbles, rose gold. Stable boys dozed against warm flanks of destriers. A kennel hound howled at some dream. They passed beneath a murder hole where lingering rain dripped, emerging onto the rampart that oversaw the Blackwater. Mist rolled from the river. Lanterns bobbed upon masts. Tyrion leaned on Crenel stone, savoring salt wetness on his cheeks. Sansa stood beside him, silent a long while before speaking. "I dreamt of Winterfell. The towers were tall again, the hearths burning, but snow drifted through the windows, filling corridors. Dreams seldom know walls," he said. "One day you will stand in those corridors, and there will be fires enough." "Will you be there?" she asked. "If fate allows." He tucked damp hair behind his ear. "I have grown fond of hearths." A gull shrieked overhead, wheeling toward the silent hulk of the burned chain tower. The bird's cry faded into the boom of the city's awakening. Smith hammers, cry of fishmongers, thud of portcullis winches. Life resumed, heedless of dead lions. The first weeks of Tyrion's handship unfolded like a game boards of civis whose pieces moved between storms. Kevan departed to Casterly Rock with half the western host to oversee funeral rites. and secure the valuables Tywin alone had known how to guard. Mace Tyrell, mollified by promises of lucrative tax exemptions on reach grain, returned south to marshal harvest levies. That left King's Landing under the uneasy triad of Tyrion, Cersei, and the silent watchers of the faith. Tyrion's opening gambit was bread. He diverted coin from master-at-arms, armory repairs to subsidize bakers. Loaves sold for coppers instead of silver stags. Hunger riots dwindled, and from Flea Bottom rose cheers. For imps' loaves they called them. Cersei sneered that stomachs forgot names quickly. Tyrion answered that full stomachs seldom brandished torches. Next he turned to the gold cloaks. Their loyalty, once bought by Joffrey's cruelty and Littlefinger's coin, had frayed. Tyrion attended their nightly drill, walking the muddy yard as thunder threatened, complimenting sword forms, noting deficiencies in greaves and breastplates. He arranged for 2 ore shipments from Silverhill in the west. Smiths hammered the metal in view of the watch. Soon every cloak boasted freshly oiled rings, stamped discreetly with a lion's paw and a wolf's eye, symbols of hand and lady alike. When Bronn swaggered into the Red Keep with 3 captains of sell sails in tow, Tyrion met them in the draughty chamber once used for the king's whipping post. "I will pay hazard bonuses upon timely retrieval of contraband," he explained, sliding caskets of coin across a trestle. "Your hazard is to ensure said contraband remains very far from our shores." "And if contraband is men with swords?" asked a lean Myrish captain. "Then ensure those men drown before sighting our lighthouse, and I shall double your bonus. Treble if anywhere the Stag of Stannis." Bronn grinned. "I always knew you'd be good for treble." Soon rumors spread of strange battles at sea, where sails emblazoned with fiery hearts vanished beneath moonless waves. Tyrion neither confirmed nor denied. Instead he attended to Tommen's lessons, joining the boy and Maester Balabar over maps of the realm and treatises on justice. Cersei objected but could not forbid the king from studying with his hand, especially when Margaery's delighted approval echoed in every corridor. Yet nights were far from tranquil. Twice Tyrion found scrawled threats pinned by daggers to his solar door. "Kinslayer lies, the sun shall rise red with his blood." He burned them unread. The message was plain enough. One dusk he returned from the Street of Sisters to discover Ser Boros Blount, posted outside Sansa's chamber, claiming new orders from the Queen Regent. Tyrion dismissed him with a purse of silver and a whispered promise that Boros' next posting would overlook the Black Cells. Still, poison lurked easier than blades. Against Varys' counsel, Tyrion took to tasting his own wine, until Sansa began sharing every cup. Their closeness, born of necessity, deepened into something quieter. Evenings reading dusty volumes of the Age of Heroes, mornings strolling through the withered godswood, where red leaves fell like drops of garnet onto the gods' almondwood faces. He did not name what grew between them. Some gifts bloom best when unspoken. With spring's midpoint came ravens from the north. Manderley held White Harbor. Carhold pledged fealty to Starks yet unborn. Skirmishes flared along the Dreadfort's borders. Ramsay Bolton retreated behind Winterfell's half-rebuilt walls, flaying deserters to stiffen the rest. The realm smelled blood. At council, Tyrion proposed dispatching a royal envoy bearing pardons and grain to whichever North Lords renounced Bolton rule. Cersei jeered. "Send pardons to traitors? The crown's forgiveness has grown cheap indeed." "Forgiveness is cheaper than war," Tyrion replied, "and war more expensive than coffins." Yet alone with Jaime atop the ramparts, he admitted a deeper motive. "If the North steadies, Sansa will have a seat from which to parley. A Stark in Winterfell can cool Bolton ambition, and the lion may lie beside the wolf." "Bend down their waist hole." Jaime's smile held sorrow. "A lion's den seldom suits a wolf, brother." "Then perhaps we must build a new den." He studied the horizon, one with enough room for many beasts. Letters flew. Ser Davos Seaworth, acting for Stannis after his fleet's mauling, responded unexpectedly. He would accept neutral passage to Winterfell to parley, provided his life be sworn safe by royal decree. Tyrion drafted a writ, sealed with Tommen's golden stamp. Cersei nearly tore it in half, but the High Septon witnessed, and declared the king's seal sacred. So Davos crossed the Trident by lantern light, escorted by 30 Lannister spears, whose commander begged not to witness miracles should Stannis' hand sprout new armies from mud. At Winterfell, Davos met Manderly, Karstark, and the formidable Lady Barbary Dustin. Stories returned on raven wings, of a king's hand who spoke plain truth, of lords tired of flaying knives. Ramsay, furious, rode out to raid the rills and lost 200 men to guerrilla snows. Rumor claimed even his dogs turned upon weaker hounds in hunger. The North's long night, Tyrion judged, slid toward dawn. Yet every victory bred peril. Stannis himself, though diminished, rallied at Carhold, ragged but resolved. Sell sails from Bravos tempted by Iron Bank coin might yet swell his ranks. And deep in the Eyrie, Lysa Arryn's death left Sweet Raband under Littlefinger's co-regency. Petyr Baelish wrote Tyrion a letter thick with compliments and thinly veiled warnings. The world turns, old friend. Those who ride its curve may crest new heights, or plummet. Tyrion smelled ambition souring the ink. But for the moment, Baelish played tutor to a frail boy. His claws extended south could snare more than he hoped. On a stifling afternoon heavy with approaching summer, bells clanged across the city. Tyrion, quill poised, froze at the sound. 4 slow peals, 1 sharp. The signal of a royal summons. He found the throne room blazing with sunlight slanting through stained glass. Cersei stood at the foot of the Iron Throne, Tommen on the steps above, crown gleaming. Knights flanked them like carved bone. "My hand," Cersei began, voice ringing. "A matter of treason demands judgment." Sir Loras Tyrell dragged forward a ragged man, whose wrists bled from too tight manacles. Greasy curls matted his brow, yet his eyes, blue as cornflowers, fixed on Tyrion with grim recognition. Sir Gerald Grafton, captain of the Stormchaser, one of the 3 Bronn had hired to harry Stannis' trade. How had he fallen into Cersei's snare? Cersei's lips curled. This man confesses to attacking royal ships upon orders signed by none other than our hand. Tyrion's heartbeat thudded. Which royal ships? Those chartered to convey Tyrell gold, she hissed. Coin meant to pay crown debts now rest beneath the waves. Marbrand frowned. We have no record of such charter. Cersei thrust a parchment high. Here is the contract, bearing the royal seal. Tyrion stepped forward. May I inspect? He scanned the wax. Tommen's crowned stag, crooked and blurred, not the crisp imprint he had applied that very morning to a missive for Pentos. Moreover, the parchment carried no watermark of the royal scriptorium. Forgery, yet cunning. He addressed the hall. This seal is counterfeit. I can prove it. Summon the royal scrivener. Compare ink mixtures, strokes. Cersei's voice lashed. Scriveners may lie. This captain's word suffices. He implicates you, dwarf. Gerald trembled. I speak only truth demanded by the Queen Regent's questioners. Tyrion's gut clenched. Qyburn's presence at the dais suddenly loomed large. Torture could conjure any confession. The trap was sprung. Jaime stepped forward. A confession rung on the rack is naught. Cersei glared. Are you Lord Commander or Advocate? Both, if justice requires, Jaime said. The hall murmured. Cersei's cheeks flamed. She turned to Tommen. Your Grace, the dwarf must be tried. Again, if need be. Enemy of the crown. Tommen looked torn between mother and uncle. Tyrion's mind raced. Public trial risked chaos. Private confrontation risked a dagger. He chose neither. My queen, he said, voice echoing, I will submit to inquiry. But let that inquiry be overseen by the faith. The High Septon shall judge. His halls are sacred, his cells secure. Pycelle wheezed approval. Mace Tyrell nodded vigorously, eager to exalt his newfounded piety. Cersei's mouth thinned, yet beneath the throne's needle shadow Tommen mumbled assent. The trial of a hand within the sept would recall ages past. Imply legitimacy Cersei could not openly scorn without offending gods and people alike. So the matter settled. For now. Sir Geralt slumped in guard's grip, doomed witness to whichever truth served longest. And Tyrion, descending marble steps, felt the vice tighten. Cersei would pursue him, less subtle now. He would need allies stronger than ink and bribed captains. Outside the throne room, Varys emerged from shadows. "Ill tidings," Tyrion muttered. "Indeed," the eunuch agreed softly. "Yet tides turn. I have whispers from Dorne. The sand snakes speak of alliance if justice for Elia Martell be revisited." Tyrion chuffed. They would have a Lannister skull. Or another's. Varys's eyes brimmed with meanings. "But give them voice at court, and perhaps your sister's voice will not drown all others." "Invite the vipers to dinner, you mean?" Tyrion considered. "Better share my wine with snakes than scorpions already in my bed." They parted, each to his webs. Tyrion found Sansa in the solar, pale, eyes wide. Word of the accusation had flown faster than ravens. He told her what he could. She listened, fingers knotting white linen. "You are playing a game with players who will not hesitate to cut kings, husbands, children," she whispered. "I know. Then let me help." He opened his mouth to refuse, and stopped. She had walked court's daggers longer than he, learned Cersei's coils, Littlefinger's snares. Her counsel was no longer the tremulous flutter of a caged bird, but the measured grace of a falcon, unhooded. "Very well," he said. "Tonight we dine with danger." The feast in the small hall shimmered with Dornish color. Silks of sunset orange, pomegranates spilling garnet seeds, wine spiced with pepper. Ellaria Sand reclined beside her daughters, Obara stern as a spear, Nymeria languid and sly, Tyne all sweet smiles. Across table's breadth, Cersei perched stiffly, lips pressed thin each time. Tyne offered Tommen-sugared dates. Margaery played hostess, praising southern warmth that banished chill of politics. Tyrion, at Sansa's right, watched every goblet poured, every glance traded. Midway through the courses, Nymeria Sand leaned forward, golden eyes upon Cersei. "I grieve your lord father's passing. Dorne knows such loss, our prince. Oberyn fell seeking justice." Cersei's responding smile flashed teeth. "He fell seeking vengeance. Justice and vengeance are but mirrored blades," Nymeria murmured. "One reflects what the other reveals." Tyrion cut in smoothly. "Blades unsheathed often draw blood indiscriminately. Let us keep steel in scabbard tonight." Obara raised a pomegranate half. "Then may words pierce instead." She squeezed. Crimson drops splattered her plate. "We come to speak of peace, peace bought by truth. Who slew Elia? Who gave order? Until child murder is answered, lions will hear the hiss of vipers." Cersei's goblet clinked too sharply as she set it down. "You overreach. Elia died in war. There is your answer." "War answers only itself," Obara said. "Yet wounds fester." Her gaze shifted to Tyrion. "You hold the realm's purse. Pay the price owed, and Dorne might let old scars close." Tyrion steepled hands. "Gold cannot mend bone, yet it may build bridges. What payment?" Ellaria spoke at last, voice soft wind over desert. "Send one who ordered the deed, or one who shielded him, and Dorne will kneel gladly." Cersei scoffed. "Prince Rhaegar's babes died by Ser Gregor's hand. The mountain paid under Dragon's tooth. But who commanded the mountain?" Tyne asked sweetly. Eyes snapped to Cersei, then to Tyrion. He felt the table tilt, world spinning upon that single lethal question. Tywin had ordered the sack. Tywin was dead. So why did they stare as if waiting for him to point a jagged finger? Because they suspected what Varys birds whispered. Behind Tywin stood another, silent conspirator, one whose glamour gilded over blood. One queen mother. Cersei rose. "This feast degenerates. Return to your deserts, dream of serpents there." Obara's hand shot out, seizing a tablet knife. Guards tensed. Tyrion's, Cersei's, Dornish. Tyrion himself stood. "Enough." His voice cracked like frost underfoot. "This hall is my charge's hand." Sheathed the blade. Obara's gaze burned. Then, ever so slowly, she set the knife down. "Your charge indeed. Remember that, lion." Dendranon. Ellaria touched Obara's wrist, The daughters of Oberyn withdrew with feline grace. Cersei swept out opposite, armored in outrage. The hall emptied like a wineskin punctured. Tyrion sagged against his chair. Sansa's hand found his. "You invited thunderstorm," she murmured. "And received hailstones." He rubbed his brow. "But better hail than poison. Their demands were always coming. Now they are voiced and we may answer. Will you surrender your sister?" She asked it gently, yet the air quivered. He stared at the knife glinting amid pomegranate seeds. "I may surrender many things before this game is done, but a queen mother, even guilty, is not a pawn easily sacrificed. Nor would Tommen survive the loss." "And you?" she whispered. "I?" He managed a brittle smile. "I am but a small piece, yet perhaps small enough to slip between blades." She drew him from the hall, into starlit cloisters, smelling of orange and smoke. Crickets chirred unseen. "Pieces can change the board," she said. "Even small ones." He turned toward her, moonlight pooling in her eyes. "Then play beside me, Lady Stark." Thunder rumbled beyond the city walls. Somewhere, perhaps in the Tower of the Hand where his father once plotted kingdoms, the first drops of a new storm struck stone. Tyrion lifted his face to the cool promise of rain, and in its hush he heard the future beating like wings against the air. Fragile, furious, unbound. Ka. Rain fell through the night in a slow, silvery veil, wrapping King's Landing in a hush that did nothing to soothe the unease prowling the Tower of the Hand. Tyrion Lannister stood sleepless before the tall windows of his solar, palms pressed to the cool lattice as water raced down the leaded glass in rivulets that glimmered in the glow of guttering candles. Beyond the walls, the city huddled beneath cloaks of slate and shadow, its crooked roofs streaming with runoff, its alley fires hissing under the sudden weight of heaven's weeping. He watched torch points bob on the ramparts, as guards changed posts, listened to the distant groan of timbers on the Blackwater wharves, and strained to read the shape of the morrow in the pattern of raindrops. Tomorrow, Cersei would press her knives again. Tomorrow, the High Septon would convene pre-inquest hearings beneath the broken dome her father's wildfire had once cracked. Tomorrow the taste of this storm would linger on every tongue. Copper, salt, and the faint iron tang of risk. Behind him, the room spoke softly of other movements. Sansa stirred the coals with a poker, coaxing scarlet life from the embers. The light gilded the curve of her cheek, the pale braid sliding over her shoulder, the distant cast of her thoughts as she fed new sticks to the firebox. Shadows quivered across the heavy oaken desk strewn with messages. Answers from White Harbor heavy with wax. A reluctant courtesy from Petter Baelish saturated in scented ink, and a curt scrap from the Iron Bank acknowledging receipt of an interim payment, arrayed exactly to the penny. Tyrion turned at last. "Sleep will desert me tonight." Sansa glanced up, eyes shining in the hearthlight. "You have not slept since they carried your father's bier." "Tywin still prowls these halls," he murmured. "Even in death I hear his boots tap the flags, counting cost." He exhaled, rubbed his temples. "I wonder which ledger he keeps now." She laid the poker aside. "If you cannot rest, at least sit." The maids brought mulled wine. "It keeps the chill away." He obeyed, lowering himself into the high-backed chair opposite the hearth while she poured from the ewer. Steam coiled between them. He took the cup and found it spiced with cloves and orange peel, northern tastes creeping into southern cellars, because she had asked the butler kindly, because she had smiled at kitchens accustomed only to the lion's roaring orders. He wondered how many little kindnesses she had sown in silence since arriving, and how many hearts now bent quietly toward her. "This trial," she ventured, folding into the settle, "the faith may prove impartial, but Cersei will shape the charges to fit the verdict she craves. That is her intent." Tyrion sipped. "She sees the faiths, courts the way a novice sees a potter's wheel. Something to spin beneath her hands. Only she forgets that wheels spin in both directions." Sansa's gaze flickered to the parchments. "You sent another raven to Old Town. I requested an accounting of seal forgeries through the last 3 reigns. Maesters love nothing so much as cataloging crime. If we can show her tampering has precedent, we paint it common, and thus dull the outrage he expects to sharpen. You fight her fire with parchment and proof, Sansa said. She will fight back with blades. Tyrion raised the cup in salute. Hence the other letters. He tapped the stack. Brienne of Tarth escorts Lady Olenna by river barge, supposedly for rest in the capital's baths, though I suspect the Queen of Thorns means to wag more than her toes in warm water. Sir Davos should reach Maidenpool within the week, and Bronn sits off Tarth with the Stormcaser's sister ships, eager as gulls for scraps. If Cersei draws steel, we must be ready to clap our wings and scatter feathers in her eye. Sansa's brow furrowed. Feathers may not stop a knife. No, but they obscure aim. And sometimes, he added, tilting his head to study the flame, they make a prettier mess than blood. A silence settled. The fire popped. Rain rat-tat-tatted on the panes. Sansa set her wine aside and drew her knees up beneath her skirts, chin resting upon them. Tyrion watched the glow dance down her braid in threads of ruddy gold. You know, she said softly, when I was younger, I would lie awake on storm nights imagining I was safe in the Godswood at Winterfell, beneath the red leaves, listening to the old gods hum. No matter how the thunder shook the keep, I could hear that hush in my head, and it made me brave enough to rise the next morning. Her smile was small. I try to hear it still. He felt a pang, loss, hope, and something warmer curling in his chest. If I could conjure that hush for you, I would. In a way, you have. She shifted, the settle creaking. The city once scared me. Now it feels less monstrous. Because of you. He looked away. I fear I am one of its monsters. Not to me. Their eyes met, and for a breath neither spoke. Then the door thumped. Podrick Payne entered, soaked to the bone. My lord, he puffed, rainwater dripping from his hood. Message from Lord Commander Jaime. Urgent. Tyrion wiped the rim of his goblet, took the parchment. Wax, hurriedly sealed, bore no sigil. Pod waited, twitching with damp discomfort as Tyrion broke it. Brother. Cersei moved to the Tower of the Hand's vault at evenfall. Claims security. She brings Qyburn, Kettleblack, 2 silent sisters. I smell mischief. Perhaps forging records. Advise caution. J. Tyrion tapped the letter. So she raids my own vault under pretense of guarding it. How brazen. Sansa whispered. Brazen is her bread. He pushed to his feet. Pod, fetch Bronn discreetly. No banners, no clamor. I'll not meet theft with spears in the corridors. But I would greet my sister's curiosity with courtesy. Pod hurried out. Tyrion donned a cloak, fastening the lion and wolf clasp at his throat. Sansa watched him gird a dagger at his belt. Small though it was. I'm coming. He hesitated. It may be ugly. Winterfell's ashes taught me ugliness. She rose, fetching her own cloak. Together, they crossed dim passages lined with sconces sputtering in draughts, boots echoing in silent chambers where Tywin's tapestries still hung lofty and aloof. At the stair to the vault, an iron gate stood ajar. Torchlight flickered below. Tyrion signaled the 2 guards on station to follow but stay back. Down winding stone, they descended until the passage opened into the archive chamber. Arches ribbing overhead, walls lined by alcoves stuffed with scroll tubes, ledgers, and chests of iron-bound elm. At the far table, Cersei bent over a spread of parchments while Qyburn murmured, wax tablet in hand. 3 Kettleblack brothers loomed near heavy coffers. The silent sisters, hooded, unnervingly serene, stood by a dolly laden with sealed boxes etched in Valyrian glyphs. Tyrion cleared his throat politely. Forgive my tardiness. Had I known my Lady Queen was hosting a midnight salon in my cellar, I'd have prepared mulled wine. Cersei did not look up. Your vault is the crown's vault, she replied. Your appointment does not render it private. Nor yours, but here we are. He strolled closer, Sansa at his flank. What treasure so entices you past curfew? She lifted a document. Ledger of disbursements from the small council reserve. Signed by you. Authorizing payment to unsavory captains. Her smile sliced. I thought to examine it for myself, lest ink prove smudged in morning light. By all means. Tyrion placed fingertips to tabletop. ... Yet odd that you require silent sisters for audit. They certify inventory. Cersei gestured toward the sealed boxes. Private caches, valuables, documents, brandy decanters worth more than peasant hamlets. Placed in your care, I find them curiously vulnerable. Vulnerable how? One box is unaccounted for. Her gaze skewered him. Which begs the question, where is it? He chuckled. Might you have miscounted? My father loved symmetry. 30 boxes stacked as 10 by 3. He eyed the dolly. I recall the same. Cersei's smile widened. I recall 31. Perhaps you mislaid one while forging seals. Accusations multiply faster than rabbits. He glanced to Qyburn. Has Maester Qyburn here enumerated them? Qyburn's pale eyes flicked from parchment to Tyrion. Her Gracie's memory is prodigious, he said. Yet to calm disputes we shall weigh each chest. Prodigious indeed, Tyrion said. Though some prodigies see what they wish. Very well, count them. Meanwhile I'll await the High Septon's bailiff to witness. Archlector High Septon loves numbers. Cersei's knuckles whitened on the ledger. You summon the faith to meddle in crown business. If the crown's morals are impeccable, why fear the pious? Tyrion took Sansa's arm. Come in my. The air grows stale. Now. Cersei's laughter followed them like shards of ice. Back in the corridor they met Bronn, blade naked at his side. Lovely night for spelunking, he quipped. Want the brothers' kettle on pikes? Not yet, Tyrion said. Have your men audit the boxes at dawn. Open lids in view of 5 witnesses. And find how many there truly were. If 31, I'll eat a codpiece. Raw? Bronn grinned. With pepper and salt. He dismissed the mercenary, then faced Sansa Ty. A missing chest. Cersei either lies or someone removed it, Sansa finished. They returned to the solar. Rain still drummed. Tyrion unrolled a vault catalog, his shorthand scratches noting each chest's markings. Tywin's codes, he mused. This symbol, 3 rings around a sun, denoted contingency, documents, bribe ledgers, confessions. He traced down the list. Chest 31, if it existed, bore that sigil. If Cersei truly lacks it, someone stole secrets. Could Qyburn have spirited it away to blackmail her? Sansa suggested. Or Varys, or Baelish. Or even Father himself, dispatched before his death for safekeeping. Tyrion rubbed his eyes. We chase shadows in a labyrinth. A knock. Podrick again, breathless. Letter from River Run, Blackfish's seal. Tyrion broke wax. Your 2 moons pass grows scarce. Envoys skirmish with Bolton outriders on the causeway. Karstarks shuffle feet. Manderleys grow hungry. We cannot hold blade or bread forever. Send sign or trust the river's flood. B. He set the letter down. Our schedule shrinks. If Cersei smears me during investigation, I'll be too mired to aid River Run. And if River Run falls, the North may follow. Sansa gripped the back of his chair. We must clear your name quickly, which means we must unmask the true thief. He exhaled. Time to wake sleeper hawks. By candle's last inch, he penned 3 swift notes. One to Varys requesting all reports of vault movements. Another to Sir Bronzebeard instructing silent observation of Qyburn's acolytes. And the third addressed only to the spider's silk. That last he sealed with no crest, trusting Varys to know where to send it. A code between them for the darkest corners of the city's rumor web. When he finally slept, head dropped upon folded arms, the rain had ceased. Dawn bled pale across the river. Sansa draped a cloak over his shoulders before retiring to her chamber. He dreamed of lions constructed of parchment, prowling halls snatching candles in their teeth, leaving corridors dark. 3 days later, the inquest convened in the Sept of the Hand, an austere chapel newly consecrated, while the Grand Sept of Baelor underwent repairs. Marble pillars lined a nave hung with 7-colored glass lanterns. At its center, a dais bore a plain ashwood seat, where the High Septon perched like a solemn owl in layered silks. The faith militant, recently revived at Cersei's urging, flanked him with morning stars chained across chests painted with crystal tears. Cersei arrived in black damask, hair bound with jetstones. Qyburn followed, carrying a rosewood casket heavy with parchment. Tyrion entered arm in arm with Sansa. Whispers rustled as onlookers noted her presence. Some called her Kingslayers, hostage, others Lady of Winterfell. Beside the altar, Ser Jaime stood as Tommen's proxy, white cloak radiant beneath clerestory light. The High Septon raised a hand. "We gather to examine claims of conspiracy against the realm by Tyrion Lannister, Hand of the King. Let witnesses speak truth before the seven." Cersei presented the forged contract first. Qyburn narrated supposed linkages, a chain from crown to coin to killers. Tyrion requested examination of the seal by inksmith Sorello of Lys, master of pigments. The inksmith attested discrepancies, binding media mismatched, impression depth unequal, wax formula older by a reign. Snickers rippled through spectators. Cersei frowned, but beckoned Gerald Grafton, who shuffled, wrists shackled. Under questioning he reiterated ordered raids, but trembled when asked to describe Tyrion's face by torchlight. His details wavered, contradicted earlier statements. Tyrion produced a sworn affidavit from Bronn, naming Grafton in a brothel that very hour on the night he claimed to have met the Hand. The gallery hissed. Cersei's jaw tightened. She unveiled a new charge: missing vault contents. "Proof," she declared, "that the dwarf seeks to erase debts pointing to his treason." She called Kettleblack Osney, but the guard captain stumbled, confessing had never counted chests before Cersei's survey. Jaime's voice cut through. "If prior count was unknown, missing tally is conjecture." Murmurs swelled. Then Tyrion rose. "If the vault did hold 31 chests, we ask, who besides her grace stood watch last? Bring forth the Silent Sisters." The Silent Sisters stepped forward, but to everyone's surprise removed their hoods. Beneath the white linen, 2 were men, city cobblers in stolen garb, while the third was a pale acolyte of Qyburn's, eyes dull with milk of the poppy. Jaime unsheathed the dagger with a snick. "Impersonation of holy servants," the High Septon intoned. "I sacrilege." Cersei turned a shade like wilted roses. For once she found no words. Tyrion bowed slightly. Perhaps the missing chest walked away on guilty legs. He faced the assembly. "Investigate as you will. I shall comply." He placed parchments on the altar, ledgers of every disbursement upon his seal since appointment. "Transparency, my lords and ladies, is armor against falsehood." The High Septon scanned the congregation. "The court will suspend until these new revelations are weighed. Her Grace and his Lordship shall submit further evidence within 7 days. May the 7 guide us." Proceedings paused. Cersei swept from the dais, skirt snapping. Jaime exhaled like a man set down from great height. Tyrion felt sweat slick his spine, though the air was chill. He caught Sansa's hand in brief squeeze. Gratitude, silent vow. They left beneath glares and gossip. Outside on the steps, Varys awaited with parasol raised against Newsweek's sun. "A masterful demonstration," he purred. "Though storms seldom end after first clap." "Storms entertain me," Tyrion said. "Then you will enjoy this." Varys offered a sealed tube. "Word from Dorne." He opened it, read quickly. "They accept mediation. Illyria and 2 daughters remain as envoys. They request custody of Sir Gregor's ashes for proper right." "That is concession," Varys said. "But serpents coil. Let them coil. Coiled snakes bite only those who grasp unwisely." He tucked the scroll away. Meanwhile, across the high road 20 days north, Sir Davos Seaworth entered Winterfell's great hall under banners of 3 houses: Baratheon stag aflame, Stark direwolf pale on grey, Manderly merman clutching trident. The air smelled of pine smoke and salted stockfish. Ramsay Bolton sat the dais in a doublet of flayed man pink, furs slung carelessly about shoulders. At his right crouched Reek, all twitch and fear. At his left Maester Tybalt whispered counsel. Davos bowed. "I come under royal sigil to treat." Ramsay grinned. "You come to bend knee." Treat, Davos repeated, voice even. Roads north flood red. The realm seeks healing. Ramsay laughed, high and sharp. The realm can lick my leavings. He surveyed assembled lords, Karstark men tense at pillars, Manderly knights stoic, Lady Dustin with her hawk's stare. You want healing, Onion Knight? Crack a Bolton's whip and taste the sting that cleans infection. Whispers rustled, like wind through dead leaves. Davos noted them all. He produced a parchment. His Grace King Tommen offers full pardons, restoration of lands, and 5,000 gold dragons grain stipend, contingent on House Bolton, recognizing Lady Sansa Stark as Wardeness of the North, with her lord husband Tyrion Lannister as regent, until heir of Stark blood comes of age. Gasps followed. Ramsay's grin died. That bitch is mine by marriage to Theon's sisters. Your paper claim inks itself in your own father's blood, Lady Dustin interrupted. The hall shifted. She crossed arms. Flayed men hold no oaths. Ramsay's eyes flicked toward guards, but more pikes now bore wolf heads than flayed men. Fear pricked. Davos unrolled second parchment. A royal writ also grants Lord Ramsay safe passage south, land in the Crownlands, and title of River Warden. If he yields Winterfell without blood, Bolton spat. River Warden? Wading in piss and eels? I'd sooner drown you. Yet the hush spoke louder. Blades remained sheathed, Manderly men whispered of grain. Karstarks of vengeance, hill clans of old kings. Davos folded hands. You need not decide this instant. He nodded to Maester. 3 days, and I depart. He stepped back, letting silence ferment. Night found him in guest quarters pacing before low fire. A thin knock. Wyman Manderly's youngest son, Sir Wylus, entered. My Lord Seaworth, he said. Lord Manderly sends a token. He revealed a ship biscuit etched with a crude wolf sigil, Wyman's clandestine sign for alliance. Davos smiled. Next morning, a parchment appeared under his door. The North remembers. Signal when needed. No signature. Ink smelled of soot and pine resin. Hill clan craft. Davos prayed to the Seven, and to the Lord of Light alike. He would need every flicker. In King's Landing the 7 days raced like hares. Tyrion convened morning sessions with inksmiths, night councils with Bronn, midday audiences with Riverlands merchants complaining of tariffs. Between he visited the library catacombs, hunting references to Tywin's chest symbol. One brittle scroll revealed the three-ring sun as an ancient cipher for personal confessions. Blackmails collected to bind bannermen. Another scroll, newer, contained parchment offcuts bearing the same glyph, and the initials PPB. Petter Baelish. Baelish. He who thrived on secrets. Could he have reached the vault? But he lacked men inside. Unless Kettleblacks, his creatures, smuggled the chest out during the chaos of Tywin's death. And if so, what did he hope to wield? Letters implicating Cersei in Robert's murder? Proof of Joffrey's poisoning? Tyrion's own hidden sins? Any blade Baelish could sharpen he would thrust where power bled easiest. On the 5th night word arrived from the Red Wine Fleet. Piracies on the Mander Delta ceased, suggesting Stannis remnants lacked funds to harry trade. A subtle victory. Coin dripped back into crown coffers. Tyrion ordered half the toll eased on small merchants, winning cheers at dockside, and grumbling from wealthy traders who hid profit in deeper holds. Cersei struck back through rumor. Whisperers in silk taverns insisted that the dwarf plotted to seat Sansa on a northern throne, then raise his own bastard with her to supplant Tommen. Broadsheets scribbled in rhyming couplets circulated. Beware the wolf that beds the imp, he'd crown his cub o'er a rightful king. Tyrion laughed at the clumsy verse, but saw unnerving doubt in some eyes. During a dusk stroll through the palace garden, he found Tommen seated beside a fountain, wriggling fingers in water. The boy looked up, guilt and longing warring behind blue irises. My mother says you want to take my throne, he blurted. Tyrion knelt so their faces were level. I want your throne strong, Tommen. Strong enough to carry you through storms. Ma. Storms scare me, the boy admitted. Tyrion smiled. They scare everyone, but kings stand, even when knees shake. and hands steady kings. He touched Tommen's sleeve. "Will you let me help you stand?" Tommen nodded, lip trembling. Tyrion mussed his hair. Lingering guilt pressed heavy. Doing right by the boy meant thwarting his mother. Yet letting Cersei reign would doom him. The final day of inquest dawned sweltering. Sky, a bleached canvas. As crowds filed into the sept, tension crackled hotter than the air. Tyrion carried sheaves of counter-evidence. Cersei wore a necklace of black pearls like droplets of poison. The High Septon called proceedings to order. Cersei moved first, presenting a list of sailors willing to swear they'd been bribed to attack Tyrell ships. Tyrion demanded to question one. The sailor, bruises peeking under collar, could not name which Tyrell banners flew. Under further prodding, he admitted having never left the city. The gallery hissed. Cersei flushed crimson. Then Tyrion produced a small iron box. "Recovered outside Cobbler's Square," he announced, handing it to the bailiff. Inside lay fragments of charred parchment bearing half-legible signatures, including Cersei's, beneath orders directing Kettleblacks to secure Tywin Lannister's personal coffer and ensure its discreet relocation. Gasps died. Qyburn paled. Cersei leapt to her feet. "Forgeries." Tyrion bowed. "Ah, yes. One forgery might be accident. Two suggests habit. How many shall we tally?" The High Septon banged his staff. "Enough. The court sees duplicity on every side. Yet the weight of false seals lies heavier upon those who first wielded them." "Nemnin, Emnida." Tyrion breathed, waiting, heart lurching. The court rules insufficient proof of Lord Tyrion's guilt. Charges are dismissed, pending holy penance, 7 days fasting and alms to the poor fellows. Her Grace the Queen Regent shall likewise tender alms and submit to inquest regarding forged commands to be scheduled. Cersei's scream lodged behind her teeth. Only her eyes voiced it. Tyrion inclined his head, palms sweating though relief roared through his veins like wine. Outside the sept horns trumpeted. Crowds cheered the verdict. Some for the dwarf, many simply glad to see High Lord spar. Tyrion and Sansa descended the steps amid a swirl of petals tossed by beggar girls paid in ha'pennies. Bronn awaited at the foot. "Nice show." The fleet captain's lads found a crate floating upriver. "Heavy. Want a peek?" Tyrion nodded. In a side alley stood the crate. Tywin's missing chest, sigil scorched, lock pried. Inside, scroll tubes lay broken, sheets missing. Enough remained to reveal glimpses, lists of payouts, blackmail, names. Pettier had indeed looted, but he hadn't emptied every secret. Sansa lifted one fragment. A letter in Tywin's angular hand to Lord Walder Frey, dated before the Red Wedding, promising reinforcement against stark reprisals upon satisfactory conclusion. Her skin chilled. "These prove my father's complicity," she whispered. "They prove House Lannister's debt to House Frey," Tyrion said. "Which means we can leverage Frey pride." He tucked the fragments away. But more vitally, they prove Baelish meddled. "With Tywin's ledger halves we hold dagger's hilt." "Unless Baelish wields the blade already," Sansa warned. He nodded grimly. "We must outrace him." That night, a masked envoy slipped through the postern gate into the Tower of the Hand. A Volantine courtesan by all outward garb, though her bearing spoke of blades. She presented a folded parchment to Tyrion while Bronn hovered hand on hilt. "From Lord Baelish," she purred. "He invites you to parley in the ruins of Harrenhal. Come alone 3 nights hence, or secrets will find sunlight." She left before questions could stick. Tyrion broke wax shaped like a mockingbird. Inside, 2 lines. The song ends when the singer draws breath. "Meet me where stone melted, or I sing." Nenri. He passed the note to Sansa, who'd followed unseen. Her face drained. "It's trap." "Yes," he agreed. "Therefore, we prepare our own." Jaime entered, armor unfastened. The Queen Regent roars. She calls the faith corrupt, demands your dismissal. He paused at their expressions. "What now, brother?" Tyrion handed him the note. Jaime frowned. "You cannot go." "I must. He holds scrolls that could doom us, or her." Possibly Tommen. Then we ride together, Jaime said. He asks me alone. He asked, he'll receive more. Tyrion smiled. I knew you'd say that. 3 days later, dusk draped Harrenhal in purple bruise. The melted towers jutted like the ribs of some slain giant against a sky streaked blood and gold. Crows wheeled over broken battlements. Tyrion rode beneath the shattered gates cloaked in dusty gray, Jaime beside him, Bronn and a handful of sellswords shadowing further back. Sansa had remained in King's Landing as visible anchor. Cersei, convinced Tyrion fled, exulted too soon to suspect further intrigue. They reined in near the Hall of 100 Hearths, where the roof gaped open to stars. Within, torches ringed a dais of cracked basalt. Pettyr Baelish sat upon a chair of twisted iron that may once have been part of the ruined throne, mockingbird pin glinting. Tyrion, he greeted with feline warmth. And Sir Jaime, how unsurprising. Your summons mentioned sunlight, Tyrion said, dismounting. Yet we meet by torch. Oversight? Baelish laughed. Night shields secrets, until dawn's bidding. He gestured to a chest behind him. Tywin's lid ajar. But secrets yearn to fly. Tyrion approached cautiously. Your price? Simple equity. Baelish folded fingers. Cersei's ruin my elevation. Handship suits me. You step aside. I sing your virtues while indicting her for Robert and Jon Arryn's deaths. Faith will adore my piety, city my largesse. You remain lord of the Ares coin, free to coddle your wolf bride in snow. And if I refuse? Baelish's smile thinned. Scrolls reach Braavos, Dorne, Stannis, the Tyrells, each tailored to wound you. Letters prove your part in Joffrey's demise. Shay's murder, wild conspiracies enough to blacken a dozen lifetimes. Jaime scoffed. Fabricated. The best lies grow on seeds of truth. Baelish shrugged. I water them well. Tyrion tilted his head. And what assurance that, having stepped aside, you spare my nephew? Baelish's eyes gleamed. I prefer pliable kings. Tommen is clay. Cersei molds poorly, you, perhaps better. His gaze flicked to Jaime. Perhaps a Lord Protector of lofty honor could guard him for me. Jaime spat. Never. Silence swelled. Wind moaned through sundered stone. Somewhere water dripped in distant cistern. Tyrion sighed. You overplay, Baelish. Tywin taught me. Always hold a card unseen. He produced a parchment from his sleeve. Your letter to Roose Bolton, urging him to depose Joffrey should Stannis win Blackwater, promising Winterfell's restoration under Baelish regency, found among half-burned scrolls you failed to cart away. Baelish's facade cracked. A forgery. Truth tastes sweeter, Tyrion said. Imagine the High Septon weighing your piety then. He flicked fingers. Bronn stepped forward, blade unsheathed. Baelish assessed the sellsword, recalculated. We could still. Could we? Tyrion asked softly. My sister's venom, your gold, my father's chains. They've shackled the realm too long. Today the chains break. He nodded to Jaime. Jaime drew sword, its whisper echoing ghosts. Baelish glanced about. The sellswords had flanked him. His own guard of 6 stood uncertain, seeing odds tilt. He licked lips. Kill me and letters fly, he said. Intercepted, Tyrion replied. I paid your scribe. Baelish blinked. Tyrion approached until they were breath apart. You built ladders of chaos. But chaos climbs too. Someday it reaches you. His nod sent sellswords moving. Baelish's guards died quick silent deaths. Bronn pressed dagger to the mockingbird's throat. Tyrion searched the chest. Scrolls littered unsorted. He extracted a bundle bearing Cersei's signatures, another implicating Euron Greyjoy in trafficking Shade of the Evening across the narrow sea, a third naming Duskendale smugglers. Each he slid into satchel. Jaime watched, expression unreadable. At last he spoke to Baelish. What mercy, Tyrion? Tyrion considered. The wall accepts scoundrels. If he swears vows. Baelish laughed through the knife's kiss. The wall? I'll freeze before kneeling." "You will," Bronn said, pricking skin. Tyrion met Baelish's gaze. "Choose, wall or grave." Baelish's breath hitched. The night smelled of wet stone and fear. At length he muttered, "Wall." "So be it." Tyrion signaled. Bronn's men bound the lord, gagged him. Jaime sheathed sword. Moonlight slanted through roof gaps as they left the ruin, chest secured to a mule. Baelish's eyes burned over gag, hatred, disbelief, maybe grudging respect. "Father would have hanged him," Jaime said as they rode. "I am not father." Tyrion peered into night. Pointers, not nooses. Back in King's Landing news preceded them. Cersei had been summoned to separate inquiry but refused, barricading the queen apartments with kettleblacks, demanding Tommen's custody. Tyrell guards ringed the tower. The faith camped on the steps in prayerful protest. A siege inside the palace walls. Tyrion arrived at dawn. He and Jaime mounted the tower stairs flanked by 20 gold cloaks loyal to the hand. At the barricaded door, Sir Osmond Kettleblack sneered until Bronn's knife kissed his artery. The barricade yielded. Within, Cersei paced like a panther before a bewildered Tommen. She spun. Tyrion the usurper. "No," he said quietly. "Merely the hand performing duty." He offered Baelish's scrolls. "Proof enough to bury you, yet I bring them as shield. Step down peacefully. Accept Lady Regency of Myrcella in Sunspear. Live for your children's sake." Her face twisted. Fear, rage, grief. "You would send me away. Better exile than pyre. The faith prepares that." He indicated Jaime. "Your brother escorts you." Tommen clung to her skirts. Tears glistened. "Mother, please." She cupped his face. "My sweet king, obey your hand. Be strong." Voice choked. She kissed his brow, then turned to Tyrion. "I will remember." "I expect you will," he said. Jaime took her arm gently. Together, they descended. Watchers parted in hushed astonishment. Gold cloaks ushered them to a river barge bound for Dragonstow's Channel, where a ship awaited. Jaime paused at the gangplank, met Tyrion's eyes across widening water. A nod passed. Farewell, benediction, promise to safeguard. Tyrion exhaled. Thunderclouds had dispersed. Morning light struck the city's domes, gilding them anew. He returned to the Red Keep, where lords assembled to hear the news. Queen Regent to retire in Dragonstone under oath. Baelish condemned to the wall. Qyburn stripped of chain. Kettleblacks dismissed. Tommen ratified under seal. In the throne room he knelt before the iron monstrosity. Tommen, shaky but resolute, set a small hand upon his head. "Rise, Lord Hand," the boy said. Tyrion rose. Petal light streamed through shattered panes. He bowed to lords, then addressed them. "The realm has crawled through fire. Ash clings still, but we stand. Let this council govern not by fear, but by balance." He spread arms. Grain for hungry, justice for wronged, peace for weary. A lion's roar must guard, not devour. Murmurs of assent, skepticism, hope blended into a hum like the city beyond. Tyrion felt weight settle on his shoulders. Iron, soft as silk, heavy as mountains. That evening he sought Sansa at the Godswood. She stood beneath the thrice-split weirwood trunk, white bark streaked red, leaves whispering secrets to the dusk. "It is done," he told her. She turned, eyes luminous. "Is it truly?" "For today." He joined her beneath crimson canopy. "Tomorrow will ask more. Tomorrow always does." She stepped closer. "But we meet it together." The wind stirred, carrying scents of myrrh and baditai. Beyond the walls, bells tolled gently. Vespers for a city tired of war. Tyrion lifted her hand, pressed lips to knuckles. "Together," he echoed. And as night gathered, the hush she once heard in Winterfell seemed to hover in the air. Quiet among rustling leaves, a promise of roots deep enough to weather storm after storm. In its shelter a dwarf and a wolf stood side by side, ready to carve dawn from darkness, word by word. choice by choice, until 5-hour tales stretched into lifetimes, and the broken realm, stitched at last with threads of unlikely alliance, dared to dream of peace.